Thank you for joining me. I'm meteorologist Brian Shields. Thank you for taking the time to be part of this weather community. This is not a typical November pattern, not kind of our normal November pattern. Two areas we're watching. By the time you're watching this video, this may already be Tropical Storm Rafael, and then we're watching another area just to the east of the Caribbean for the chance of development. I want to go island by island with the wind outlook. I want to go island by island with the rains as this area develops, what to expect in the Gulf of Mexico, and what to expect out of another system that may try to develop. And I want to zoom down and show you the winds inside of this area here that's working its way toward Jamaica. So here's Jamaica. This area has been getting better organized overnight, slowly, as expected, slowly developing into Tropical Storm Rafael, if not already by the time you watch this. And then eventually this area may become a hurricane near the Cayman Islands and Cuba. Still kind of an if on that. But the forecast I showed you yesterday as a whole is holding. Watching this spot, and then Antigua and Barbuda off to the east. We're going to see a surge of some rain. That spot may try to develop some. Now, here is the most likely path, and I've been showing you the track on this now for several days, and it is holding, just kind of expanding it out in time. Made some subtle tweaks to this. This will work its way into Jamaica as expected, especially late today and tonight, right? I was mentioning that yesterday, and then through the day tomorrow, working its way into the Cayman Islands. We'll zoom down in a second. Winds will be close to hurricane status. The rain's still the biggest issue out of this. Then this area moves toward western Cuba on Wednesday. Winds could be near 80 miles per hour. Then into the Gulf of Mexico. What happens after that? Some of the models want to just kind of drift this up to the north and have it weaken near Mississippi or Alabama, even near Louisiana. Other models want to just drift this off to the west with also some weakening. Conditions in here are not really supportive of a strong tropical system, which is good, but you know, I'm watching it carefully, and I'll show you the models on this. Here's that track from the National Hurricane Center. Cayman Islands, all of our islands are now under those hurricane warnings for the potential that this area does become a hurricane. Tropical storm warnings, of course, out for Jamaica, and we'll see these warnings get expanded as we go out in time. So this has been locked in, been giving you that advance notice on this for days and days now. We are in action mode. Western and central Cuba, back through the Cayman Islands and Jamaica, at least tropical storm conditions moving in, flooding up to 8 inches or 200 millimeters of rain starting late today into really tonight and tomorrow. So we've got a big tropical system that will be sliding in, and once it gets near the Cayman Islands and Cuba, it could develop into a hurricane. Let's go island by island first, and then I want to show you all of the model data that I'm seeing and what I'm seeing that is going to happen with this system. Again, that most likely track I showed you, that is my thinking on this. I'll show you the different scenarios, but I like to let you know what I'm thinking, and it's that most likely track I showed you. And this highest winds, we could have some winds, especially now, and I tweak this a little bit. The track of this will bring this more toward our southwestern sections, so we could get some winds of about 65 miles per hour. Falmouth back through Black River, about 105 kilometers an hour, 50 to 60 in our eastern end. Either way, the tropical storm conditions for us possible, or rather likely, as you get over toward Kingston, St. Anne's Bay, and then just a little bit stronger with the winds, Falmouth over toward western sections. So that's the outlook for the winds. Could get some higher gusts too. We work our way toward Cayman Little Cayman, winds could be right near hurricane force, 75 mile per hour winds or 120 kilometers. We get toward Grand Cayman, 65 mile per hour winds or 105 kilometers an hour. This is by tomorrow, right? So some hurricane conditions moving in. That's why we've been in action mode for days now. The flooding's still the biggest threat, but these are also some pretty strong winds. Not seeing anything too terribly much stronger. Wouldn't be surprised if we get some gusts near 80, just if this does spin up a little bit more. Can't rule that out, but that's the outlook for some of the winds. Central Cuba winds right around 60 miles per hour, 95 kilometers an hour. This will not have impacts over toward eastern Cuba. Western Cuba, especially over toward Havana, winds could be near 85 miles per hour or 130 kilometers an hour, to give you the outlook there. Then eventually, as this moves into the Gulf of Mexico, moves to the northwest, over towards, say, Key West, there could be some tropical storm conditions. Heaviest weather would be off to the west. Here's some of the modeling on this. Now, this does not tell you the strength. This always looks scary. You're in Louisiana and you're like, this is coming right at me. Well, these squiggly lines at the end of this, there's some substantial weakening. So we, of course, hope that happens, but the model's in good agreement agreement. And you see that little shift again. That's why I mentioned just the center of this could brush by the western end of Jamaica. That's why I kind of flipped some of the winds from what I was showing you yesterday. But either way, tropical storm winds right over the Cayman Islands as a tropical storm or hurricane, and then right over western Cuba as most likely a hurricane. Could be a strong tropical storm at that point, and then emerging into the eastern and shifting to the central Gulf of Mexico. After that, it may kind of drift a little bit off to the west or a little bit to the north. Here's kind of one of those out to lunch computer models. These are different computers. Some are good, some are not so good. So again, you see some that are a little bit all over the place. Now here are those models going out in time. This is 1 day out in time, 2 days out in time, 3 days out in time. This green shading in here, tropical storm force winds. Most of the models have this as a tropical storm, and it may bump up to a Category 1 hurricane. That is a possibility as this rolls through the Cayman Islands for us, into western Cuba, then into the Gulf of Mexico. And then all of the models, even some of the stronger ones, show some of that weakening down the road, right? Once it gets into the central and northern Gulf of Mexico. Now, more on the models in a second. I do want to get to the rain. You see this red shading showing up. We still have that possibility in Jamaica. I've been talking about this for days and days of 8 inches of rain or 200 millimeters of rain. That is a lot, as we know. Thank you for making those preps for the flooding. Keep me posted in the comments. Right across Jamaica, got you covered. I'm watching us in Jamaica nonstop. You know I am. We swing back toward the Cayman Islands. Same thing. Heaviest rain may be a little bit more toward Cayman, back over toward Little Cayman, where we could get some of the totals, almost that black and red shading, 6 to 8 inches of rain, 150 millimeters to 200 millimeters of rain. And we'll be on the edge of that, of course, across Grand Cayman as well. So watching out for those winds and those rain totals. I wanted to take care of island by island stuff first to let you know what to prepare for. Now here's the American model, the wide view. Then I'm going to zoom down close and take a look at the winds and the European model. Watching this spot here, of course, this is a Rafael that will work its way into Jamaica tonight and tomorrow. But also watching over here near Antigua and Barbuda, Anguilla, we're going to see another area that may try to develop and even work its way toward the Bahamas. So not losing sight of a couple areas. Here's this by tomorrow. Heaviest weather, Cayman Islands tomorrow, but still on the south side, getting that rain working into Jamaica, even southern sections of Haiti. But this big flow around the area of high pressure, building moisture near the northeastern Caribbean. Here's a front right here pulling back through Louisiana. There'll be another one off to the west as well. That's kind of helping to give this an alleyway to kind of draw it up toward western Cuba. So let's go out in time as we work our way into our Wednesday. This is Wednesday. You see what could become a hurricane right over western sections of Cuba. Right there, right? And then you see some of the rain pulling in here. But look at this spot near St. Martin, Anguilla, St. Bart's, even Montserrat, Antigua, Barbuda. We're going to see this area of rain building. There is a chance that that does try to spin up. It's not a high chance, but that could eventually become a tropical storm. That's why I mentioned not a typical, not really a normal pattern right now. We're watching a few areas. By Thursday, here's that area, eastern and central Gulf of Mexico, not as well defined. It may still be a hurricane or strong tropical storm at this point. Here comes yet again another front that will help kind of absorb this. But look at that area, even back through Puerto Rico. By Thursday, we could get some heavier rain. This area, I'm not sure if it will develop. I'll let you know what I know and what I don't know, but there is a chance that area develops. Look at the Dominican Republic, Haiti, Turks and Caicos, southern Bahamas, watching that spot for some increased rain on Friday. On Friday, the American model has this area kind of lift to the north in the northern Gulf and basically fall apart, get absorbed by a front, while this area may try to spin up into a brief tropical storm. Similar area where we saw Oscar form. So not going to lose sight of that second area. Then going out in time here on Saturday, the American model has this area just kind of fizzle out in the northern Gulf of Mexico, but still watching that area over toward the Bahamas and again back toward Cuba. And then more moisture building. Here's Trinidad and Tobago, Barbados, St. Lucia, Grenada, St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Kind of a string of areas of rain to watch, and I'll be keeping tabs on that for development. Conditions this time of year not as conducive for development, but our water temperatures are still so very warm. There could be additional development. There could be a few named systems this November. So here we are in Jamaica. Here's the center of this. Here's the closer look, then I'll expand out. Kilometers an hour, and miles per hour to keep everyone covered. On your screen here, here's the center of this, very close, right there. This is by tomorrow morning. That's when we'll have the heaviest weather in Jamaica. That white shading, those are winds of at least 50 miles per hour or 80 kilometers an hour. Still, the biggest threat is the rain. Then this area works right into the Cayman Islands here. This is by tomorrow afternoon. Some of that red showing up, some of the winds, it's kind of hard to see. Winds could be near 70 miles per hour or 110 kilometers an hour. I gave you the island by island breakdown earlier, but this could become a hurricane or at least a strong tropical storm right through the Cayman Islands tomorrow, and then eventually work its way right up toward Cuba. So let me expand it out. This is tomorrow afternoon, same thing. Here we are, Jamaica. Here we are over toward the Cayman Islands. Then you see here by Wednesday morning, this area, those reds showing up near hurricane force winds, western Cuba. So as we work our way into tomorrow night and Wednesday morning, bad weather, western Cuba. Then this area moves up toward the north into the Gulf of Mexico. Heaviest weather to the west of the Florida Keys, could get brushed by some tropical storm conditions. Then this area moves into the eastern and central Gulf of Mexico on Thursday afternoon. At that point, it still could be a tropical storm or a hurricane, but then there should be weakening. You see it kind of losing that red in there, but look at that right there. You see this second spot here by the Turks and Caicos. This is that second area that may spin up at the least additional rain and gusty winds. While this area may fall apart, I'm going to keep an eye on that second area back to the west. This here is by Saturday morning. So you can see two areas that we are tracking for you, that we are tracking together, and I'll be tracking for you nonstop. And let me do the worrying behind the scenes with that second one. I'll be fine-tuning that. So let me show you the American model here. Here's Jamaica. Here we are down to the south. Models, again, in very good agreement as a whole. Here's this second area we're watching. High pressure and control. Everything's just been kind of filtering around that. That's been the pattern that we've had for really a week or two. And here are these fronts back to the west. So this area trying to funnel in between. So to show you the European model, which has done a pretty good job with this system as a whole, right? It did better than the American model early on, and you can see it bringing in some sort of sloppy tropical storm to Jamaica as we work our way into tonight and tomorrow, and then by tomorrow, right on top of the Cayman Islands. Now, this model is not as strong. The American model wants to have this area become a hurricane. This one, the European model, wants Rafael to kind of stay a tropical storm. So intensity is really hard to forecast, especially in the autumn season, but even in the summertime, as you know. As we work our way forward, though, this is by the time we get into Wednesday. This area starts to leave the Cayman Islands, works its way right into Cuba. As we get into Wednesday, western end of Cuba, I showed you those higher winds. Should be a strong tropical storm or a low-end hurricane, according to the European model. Winds could be anywhere from 70, maybe 80 miles per hour. That's why I was showing you that island by island breakdown. There's that area of high pressure, everything kind of filtering around that. Here are these fronts back toward the U.S. Then as we go out in time here, as we get deeper into the week, this here is by the time we get into Thursday, the European model is a little bit different at this point. It just kind of drags this area a little bit more to the west. Here we are in Belize, Yucatan Peninsula, Mexico, not seeing a big threat for the Yucatan Peninsula, but this area starts to move in more to the central Gulf of Mexico, and then it kind of drifts its way off toward the west. So this here is by Thursday. And watching that spot there too, see the buildup of rain in the northeastern Caribbean. I'll be watching to see if that develops. So these are the two spots we're watching. This here is by Friday. You see that spot approaching the Turks and Caicos. Even if it doesn't develop, there's going to be some gustier winds, extra rain. This here is by Saturday, just kind of moving this system more almost into the western Gulf of Mexico as a hurricane at that point. And then you see this second spot here. Now, eventually, most of the models have this area fall apart. We'll wait and see. A lot of uncertainty once it gets up into the Gulf of Mexico. And then you see here just going out in time further, showing some weakening eventually by the time we get into Sunday. Not showing a whole lot out of that system, but a lot of rain starting to pull into the eastern Caribbean. So we're going to just see that plume of moisture moving in, a very active pattern. Now, the Caribbean water temperatures near 30 degrees Celsius, 86 degrees Fahrenheit, roughly about 80-ish Fahrenheit in the Gulf of Mexico. So we do have the cooler water in the Gulf of Mexico, which is helpful. Doesn't mean we can't get a strong system moving into the Gulf, but usually when they move in, if they just kind of go slowly, they don't have a ton of warm water to feed off of. And then this here is by Wednesday. You show the system right on top of Cuba. Here are the areas of wind shear that could also help kind of rip apart this system. Those are winds above our heads that could rip apart a tropical storm or a hurricane. So we're hoping that the wind shear stays high in the Gulf of Mexico to help eventually weaken this area. Now here's that closer look. Jamaica here, Costa Rica, Panama, Colombia. I've been highlighting the flooding, the high rain totals we've had for days and days. Now, tomorrow, or rather later today, we'll start to get some bands of rain working in, but the center will still be just to the south. That's what starts to move in for tonight and tomorrow morning. And then the center of this, the actual center will be just to the west or right on the west side of Jamaica, but the heaviest weather starts to move in for tonight and early tomorrow. The tropical storm conditions, let me know safely in the comments your location and what you're getting as we watch this. All of that moisture will be pulling in. So this is by tomorrow morning. Then as we get into tomorrow afternoon, heaviest weather shifts off toward the Cayman Islands, all of our islands in the Cayman Islands, but still on the backside, look at some of that rain even over toward Jacmel and Haiti starting to move in. This system's not moving to Haiti, it's going to move away, but just that backslide flow, we could get some rain and additional rain later in the day tomorrow as well across Jamaica. But the heaviest weather, hurricane to tropical storm conditions in the Cayman Islands. Then by Wednesday, that starts to work into Cuba. You see it there right on top of Cuba, western Cuba, by the time we get into Wednesday morning. And then this system will lift its way into the Gulf, but still that moisture on the backside of this moving in. European model has us move more to the west, American model more to the north, and then watching this area here to see if this does try to develop that we're watching over toward the northeastern Caribbean. A ton going on. So Rafael, the name that we're watching, Patty did develop over toward the northern Atlantic. That is becoming extratropical, which means no longer tropical. If that other spot on the northeastern Caribbean develops, the next name on the list is Sarah and then Tony after that. They don't use all the letters in the alphabet. Not exactly sure why, but they don't. All right, let's get a look at what we're seeing here with those higher seas. Of course, where this area is developing, the seas are going to be high, but still on the high side, back through the Bahamas, meters and feet on the right-hand side of your screen, meters on the bottom. You see things flaring up near the Cayman Islands. We'll have some of the seas trying to build to about 5 feet, or rather 5 meters, or upwards of about 15 plus feet. And you see that again here. This is by the time we get into a Wednesday. Here is Thursday. Of course, things a mess in the eastern and central Gulf of Mexico, watching that spot. And then this second spot, that's the area that could develop near the northeastern Caribbean as we work our way into later this week. Again, this here is by Thursday. As we work our way into the rest of the Atlantic, watching Bermuda, I mentioned high pressure has been in control. That's been keeping all of this action down to the south. That's why we've had such an active pattern across the Caribbean. Atlantic region of Canada, it's front after front, though the fronts have been weakening some as they've been moving in. This is tomorrow. Could get a little bit of a mix every now and then. Otherwise, kind of that cold rain for most of us as these fronts move by. This is by the time we get into Wednesday afternoon. Now over here, here's Mexico. I talked about this a few days ago. This spot in here may try to develop and then build back toward Mexico. And you can see it here in the modeling. Here's Hawaii, watching these other areas, not seeing much in the way of development. But this spot here, instead of shifting its way off toward the west, sometimes this time of year we start to see things kind of move back, and we're going to watch this area here. There should be some development. It may become a named system on the eastern Pacific side. This is just taking you out in time to the end of the week into the upcoming weekend. And you see this spot right here, how it's not drifting away. We're still watching it here. This is by the time we get into Saturday. So I'll watch to see just how close this gets to Mexico, Guatemala, and El Salvador long term. Know that I'm watching that on the eastern Pacific side. All right, for that rain, here's that rain right through Cuba, 3-day rain totals. Where this comes on shore, again, in parts of Cuba, some of the rain could be around 150 millimeters of rain or 6 inches of rain and higher. You see the red showing up right through there. I was highlighting that earlier. Cayman Islands, Jamaica, we are covering some of the winds and the rain. South side of Haiti, that's where we could get some spots of 100 millimeters of rain or 4 inches of rain. Not as much across the Dominican Republic. Now, I'm going to keep an eye on all of this moisture in the northeastern Caribbean. You see things flaring up. The rain chance later this week is going to be higher. We'll see if this rain is on top of us or just to the north. But either way, we're going to have the potential later this week to get a few inches of rain or upwards of 100 millimeters of rain for some of our islands in the northeastern Caribbean. Dominica south, it's going to be a little bit more spotty. St. Lucia, Barbados, over toward Trinidad and Tobago. Not as much Guyana and Suriname. Seeing some of the additional rain over toward northeastern sections of Venezuela. And still watching out for some heavier pockets in parts of Costa Rica and Panama. Not as much in Colombia. We're still going to get some rain. More of it shifting to the north. Belize, we're looking good. Scattered about Honduras, El Salvador, and Nicaragua. Mexico City, only an isolated isolated chance of a shower. So of course, all eyes on Jamaica. Late today, we're going to see those tropical storm conditions. Thank you for your trust in this. I was trying to get ahead of the game for you to let you know we're going to have tropical storm conditions moving in, and that's exactly what we're going to have. All eyes on the Cayman Islands tomorrow. Tropical storm to hurricane conditions moving in across the Cayman Islands. If you need to look island by island, again, I had that earlier in this video. Scattered areas of rain potential, Trinidad and Tobago, and if we're dry, we are hot this time of year. Barbados, a 40 to 50% chance, a 30 to 40% chance right across St. Lucia. Rain chance holding at an even 50%. We could get some passing showers possible in Grenada and over towards St. Vincent the Grenadines, 40 to 50% chance. 30% chance the next couple of days in Martinique, and about a 30 to 40% chance the next 3 days in Dominica. Rain chance as we work our way into Guadeloupe, and even 40% chance today, tomorrow into Wednesday. Rain chance as we swing to the north, it starts to bump up. We're going to keep an eye on that area to see if it does develop. But either way, Antigua and Barbuda by Wednesday, we're up to a 60% chance of rain. Wednesday, a 60% chance of rain as well. St. Kitts, Nevis, and Montserrat. And you see the rain chance making the climb by midweek. Anguilla and St. Bart's also up to a 60% chance. And we do that again, St. Martin, Saba, and Statia. It is that second area that I am monitoring. As we work our way to Puerto Rico, rain chance 30 to 40%, may get higher late in the week. U.S. and British Virgin Islands, same thing, 30 to 40% chance. The Bahamas, about a 30% chance of an isolated shower for today. 40 to 50% chance in the Turks and Caicos. All eyes on what may try to develop off to the east. Could see a higher chance of rain later this week. 40 to 50% chance in the Dominican Republic. This here, though, in Haiti for tonight and tomorrow, favoring south of Port-au-Prince. 30 to 40% chance. Rain chance going down in Belize. About a 30% chance in Aruba. We swing back toward Curacao, rain chance 30%. Same thing in Bonaire, Guyana. The rain chance is not too terribly high, 30 to 40% chance, 20 to 30% chance in Suriname. Rain chance 30% in Cuba for today, but again, all eyes on the western and central sections for the tropical storm to hurricane conditions moving in. Costa Rica and Panama still watching out for those pockets of rain. 50% chance in Nicaragua the next 2 days. In the next 3 days, about a 30 to 40% chance of getting scattered showers in Honduras. The rain chance is going down. It goes down some as well. Guatemala and El Salvador, 40% chance by Wednesday. Mexico City, we're looking at an isolated chance of a shower. Yucatan Peninsula, about a 30% chance of a shower the next 3 days. Northern Colombia, 40 to 50% chance. Isolated shower around as we work our way into northern Venezuela, and mainly dry as we get into Bermuda with that area of high pressure. So watching 2 areas out there. Tropical storm conditions moving into Jamaica pretty soon. Hurricane conditions possible near the Cayman Islands up through parts of Cuba. Watching out for the major flood threat, the mudslide threat. Be mindful of those rivers, and I'll be monitoring to see how strong this gets in that second area to watch near the northeastern Caribbean. So thank you for being part of this weather community and spreading the word about this system and the potential of a second system just to get the proper and correct information out there. I do appreciate it. I hope you're doing well. If you're dealing with this system, please be safe. I'll be going through those comments best I can to be in touch with you. Have a good rest of your day.